All right, Akim, Shalom, Shalom. First and foremost, I'd like to give all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Rakakwadash, double honors to the apostles and elders, great millstone, for teaching us his truth, and salutations to the sincere Akim and Aqua that may listen. May the blessing of election be upon your house. Excuse me. My name is Brother Okwai. I'm back in here with another quick and Lord's will, Yahweh Rataza. This would be an edifying lesson and a lesson of comfort to you, right? So today's lesson, I titled it on the screen. It says feet washing and humility, and I was reflecting on a couple things recently, and just pardon me the noise in the background. I kind of wanted to stay outside a little bit, just get some fresh air, just to make this lesson. But anyways, I kind of was just reflecting on a couple things as time goes by, as we essentially mature, in this truth and learn new things, learn more about Yahweh Shai. I've learned, so far I observed that, there will be situations that kind of come and arise as you learn more, as in terms of, the technical things like the breakdowns and those technical things, but then learning about Yahweh Shai as well. Learning about these particular things, I've noticed that there are things that would essentially keep you humble, because, with all this like wisdom and knowledge and understanding, it can lead to essentially a person becoming really essentially kind of swell-headed, like the scriptures say. That knowledge can puff up, right? And it was just something I was observing, like for me, I like a lot of my books and stuff like that. But, as time goes by, as you learn more precepts, through your precepts, we get understanding, there are things that, will happen to us that the Lord would essentially kind of put in our lives, so to speak, that will happen. And essentially what it would do is it would just kind of keep us humble, keep us in a lowly state of mind, right? And I just thought it was very, very interesting, because I thought it was a very interesting, what it does, it kind of keeps you not to get too high-minded on yourself, because the scriptures talk about pride, and pride essentially is when one essentially starts to depart from his maker, to roughly paraphrase Sirach chapter 10, right? So I want to bring out a couple precepts, and Yahweh Rataza, that this lesson would be edifying. So I guess the first precept I want to start off with, I don't want to make the lesson too long, I just wanted to hit a couple points. Wait, hold on. Let me just wait for this truck to pass. Okay, this is Sirach, or Ecclesiasticus, chapter 3, verse 18, and it says, "The greater thou art, the more humble thyself, and thou shalt find favor before the Lord Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai." Verse 19, and it says, "Many are in high place and of renown, but mysteries are revealed unto the meek. For the power of the Lord Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, is great, and he is honored of the lowly," right? So that's very, very important, as time goes by, we mature, learn more in this understanding, and so on and so forth, we learn to essentially kind of keep a low state of mind, right? Although yes, we do have this treasure, like it says in 2 Corinthians, we have this treasure in earthen vessels. The knowledge essentially can make us too high-minded, and this is one of the things that the Apostle Paul talked about in. As a matter of fact, let me get that real quick. I don't want to go too off the topic. Was that 1 Corinthians 13? Okay, 1 Corinthians 13, I'll read verse 1, but the point's in 2, and it says, though I speak with tongues of men and of angels, and have not charity, I become as sounding brass and a tinkling cymbal. And though I have the gift of prophecy, and understand all mysteries and all knowledge, and though I have all faith, so that I can move mountains, and have not charity, I am nothing. So Paul is describing, man, I could have, this understanding, I could, have all this faith, I can have all these different, understanding of all these mysteries. But if I don't have charity, then what exactly am I, right? And let me just say this, that charity is always limited to just money, right? So there is multiple facets that someone can be, charitable. If you really think about it, through our apostles and elders on down, teaching every week in, week out on the streets, because the scriptures talk about how wisdom crieth in the streets, to roughly paraphrase. She's found in the chief place of concourse. That, if you think, that is an example also of charity as well. So essentially, Paul's describing, man, I could have all these particular things, but if I don't have charity, then what exactly am I, right? So let's go to, I want to get this in the NLT actually. Okay, this is Luke chapter 22, verse 24. And it says, Then they began to argue amongst themselves about who would be the greatest among them. Yahushua told them, In this world the kings and great men lord it over their people. They are called friends of the people. But among you it will be different. Those who are greatest among you should take the lowest rank. The leader should be like a servant. Who is more important? The one who sits at the table or the one who serves? The one who sits at the table, of course. I am not here, for I am among you as one who serves, right? So this is very important, because Yahushua is laying out an example of the importance, essentially, of servitude, right? And we know amongst our brethren, we try our best to even exemplify these particular things, right? So this is something I was meditating on, because that is one of the things that that keeps you in that low state of mind, because you're essentially kind of having to, and I used the example of Yahushua washing the disciples' feet, because when you think about that physical example, you literally have to lower yourself, lower your body, lower yourself to actually, kind of get down there and, wash, the disciples' feet, wash another person's feet, right? So when you really think about it, it's a humbling thing, and it keeps you grounded, so to speak, and it helps us to exemplify Yahushua and the examples and the principles that he laid out, right? So, this is, really, really huge, that he did that, right? Let's jump to, I'm going to go to Nehemiah, actually. Okay, this is Nehemiah chapter 5. I'll start at verse... Hold on. I'll start at verse 15, but the point's really in, I guess, 19. It says, "For the former governors had been before me were chargeable unto the people, and had taken them of bread and wine, beside 40 shekels of silver. Yea, even their servants bear rule over the people. But so did not I, because I fear the Most High Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai. Yea, I also continue in the work in this wall, neither bought we any land, and all my servants were gathered thither unto the work. Moreover, there were at my table, 150 of the Jews, and rulers besides those who came unto us from among the heathen that are about us. Now that which was prepared for me daily was 1 ox and 6 choice sheep. Also fowls were prepared for me. Once in 10 days store of all sorts of wine. Yet for all this required not I the bread of the governor, because the bondage was heavy upon this people." So essentially, when you read up in the chapter, there was essentially a lot of our people. They were imposing a lot of heavy burdens upon the rest of the Israelites, right? So there were a lot of wicked people imposing bondage, burdens essentially, and they were going off by imposing usury upon upon their own brethren, upon their own people, right? So Nehemiah was in a very essentially he had to be in a very low state of mind. As a matter of fact, let me read this last precept and I'll make that point in regards to the bondage. So it says, "Think upon me, O Yahweh, for good, according to all I have done for this people." And I wanted to bring this out because in Nehemiah's example, because Nehemiah, he was serving, and actually being essentially a servant to the people, because he went from essentially he was at a state where he was a cupbearer, and it says that, I believe, in the first chapter. And a cupbearer is someone who kind of stands in the royal court, and essentially they serve wine to the king, right? The rulers at that time, right? So he went from that position, that noble state, so to speak, to actually be able to serve like physical food to the rest of the people, right? Because you're just coming out of captivity, now you're working to rebuild the wall, and you realizing you had heathens mocking you and coming up against you. You had your own people being wicked, right? So Nehemiah, he was dealing with so much, but essentially the point I wanted to really touch on is the fact that even though he had a royal I don't want to say he had a royal status. He had essentially a royal, a noble position, a higher position, so to speak, right? And then having to do something like that, he's kind of practicing. Essentially, what I'm trying to get, the point I want to get is, he's practicing Yahushai by spiritually washing the feet of those people, right? Being subject to them, being lowering yourself to serve them, essentially, to roughly make the point. Hopefully that all ties in together and makes sense, right? Let me get Romans, and I guess I'll close it out there. Let's wait for this truck to pass. Okay, this is Romans chapter 12, verse 3, and it says, "Because of the privilege and authority the Most High Yahweh has given me, I give you each of you this warning. Don't think you are better than you really are. Be honest in your evaluation of yourselves, measuring yourselves by the faith Yahweh has given you, right? So we don't measure ourselves and, do those comparisons amongst ourselves, because, I think Paul talks about this and describes it as essentially what that is. It's unwise, right? We don't make those comparisons amongst ourselves, and we don't think of ourselves as better, amongst, other brothers in the body. So anyways, I'll leave the point there, but I pray and hope that this lesson was edifying, and I just like to give all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai. Until next time, I say Shalom.